broadcasting live from our studio in Appleton, Wisconsin. You're tuned into Fox City's Core on WCZR Code Zero Radio. We're the show that gives you an opportunity to call in and be a part of the show. Our call-in line is 920-358-0795. Core.
I think there's a lot of imposter syndrome along with, like what you said, with overcomplicating songwriting. So I know even when we started playing, we felt like imposters. We felt like the type of music we're playing was outdated, and I don't know. We just always felt like outsiders. And of course now, 30 years later, you start to look back, and most of those bands that sort of antagonized us back in the day, they stopped playing 15, 20 years ago, and we've got a handful of people that still play from back then that are still going, and I think they've kind of come to the conclusion too late, just like we have too, that it doesn't really matter.
Well, I remember doing shows where we always thought maybe it was a show where we had to dial it down a little bit. And it's like, well, what songs can we play that are slower or like not as loud? And then you go see a band give it, and you're like, why didn't we just give it?
Right.
So
yeah, I agree.
So how would you describe the new songs compared to the old songs? So along the same vein or a little different?
It's weird with you asking me this because I don't really know. They're along the same vein, just a little different. I don't think our styles really changed a whole lot. Since I'm in a reflective mood today, Andy. I think in the past, as we sort of tried to find an identity, we always felt like we weren't really sounding how we did in our heads. And I never really knew that question that every band gets, you've probably asked it just about everybody. How do you compare your music to others, whatever? It seems like we'd always hear a lot of, you guys sound like Weezer and Cheap Trick, which for some reason, I think neither of us liked those comparisons at all.
Well, and as you know, I kind of went into an anti-Weezer phase when Phil really liked Weezer. And then, of course, Phil passed away, and then all of a sudden I kind of came around and started liking Weezer again. But I think it's the Chugga Chuggas that people make that comparison, the Weezer comparison. I don't really get the Cheap Trick one. But
could be the weak guitar tone.
Well, Cheap Trick doesn't really have a weak guitar tone.
See, I disagree. But anyway, so I don't mind those comparisons anymore. And now I think I've gotten to the point where I don't care, like when we're playing or when people are listening to us, when we're writing songs, whatever. I don't really care. I think I used to try to get away from writing what we wanted to, just because I don't know. Again, it's like you're trying to be something and you're not, because you're trying to fit in, but you're kind of not. And then I think that was kind of, one thing. Metal music is great, but it's also caused people around here to get this weird sort of anxiety every year. So I know we
like, are we going to play? Are we going to play?
Right. And then if you don't get selected, all of a sudden you've got a chip on your shoulder and you're mad at everybody else. So Metal music started in 2013, which also was the year that we released our first vinyl release. So we just like a lot of local bands, we felt almost entitled. Like, we've been around for this long. We have this. Not many bands have vinyl. Again, that's 2013. And then we didn't get selected, and we were upset and felt like somehow it invalidated everything we've done. And then, we even went and played in front of a jeweler on College Avenue so that we could feel like we're playing a mile of music. And we had a group of 7 of our friends that came and watched, and we were hoping that, people were going to stop. It was, I'm glad we did it. But again, it just goes to show the desperation of, I shouldn't even say the desperation, but the just wanting to be a part of it.
I remember doing that. I think we played some of our slower songs because we had acoustics. We played a couple of them a couple times, and then we were selling vinyl, and somebody walked past, and they're like, "I'll buy one." So it was $10, and they're like, "Well," remember somebody said, "I'll take one," and then the other person said, "Well, are you sure you want to buy that? How do you know that you like it, or how do you know they're good, or something like that? And I suppose that's kind of what you're saying, invalidated, because we're not actually playing a stage at Mile. We're playing in front of a furniture store.
Well, that was kind of off the Mile, which is now kind of on the Mile because it's expanded down. But I mean, we were also so feeling weird about that we didn't even set up where people were really walking.
Right.
But and then I can't remember if it was that year or the year after, we probably put 50 to 100 CDs on buildings and in people's cars. And do you remember that?
Yeah,
Up and
kind
down
of.
College Avenue, we were hiding.
Oh, yeah.
Like, again, just wanting to be a part of it, but realistically, we probably just looked desperate and sad. But so when we finally got invited in 2016, but I get it too. You can't have everybody play, and you don't want everybody to play every year either. And I mean, there's some artists that have been there every single year since the beginning, and then that's another part that goes into the anxiety is you got these bands or artists on every year talking about, I played 50 shows, I'm so tired, and you're sitting there reading these and you're thinking, why I couldn't get one of those? But and some bands really just aren't.
Well, and they changed it now, so there's like bands are playing less shows, but there's like more bands that are playing, which I think is a good way to do it.
Yeah, I like that too. And I mean, honestly, some bands shouldn't be playing Mile music. So I mean, I get it, but it's always nice to be invited to the party. So I'm excited about that, and I'm excited that we'll be at Oktoberfest again this year. I don't think we've ever really had a great Oktoberfest show, so I'm excited to do that and to record new stuff, which is, of course, bittersweet as well because it's losing Phil. I think it took you and I a long time to feel like it was okay to play or move forward with playing music. I see you're wearing your Phil shirt today. What's up, little shirt, Phil? So I think that was, obviously that was 6 years ago, so it's taken us a long time to get to that point where we feel like it's okay. And we still think about him all the time, obviously. And I think there's a lot missing with him not being there, but we're moving forward. As anybody else in the situation would say, that's what Phil would want.
Well, Carm from the Royal Blue commented he wondered if we're playing as a four-piece, and I said we were, and he said, well, now he's interested to find out. Do you want to say who is playing with us?
Yeah, well, so we're still kind of looking at how we move forward ultimately. So we reached out to this guy named Kyle who lives outside of Madison. He was actually really good friends with Phil, and he used to come up here with Phil for band practice. He would just kind of watch, make sarcastic comments throughout the whole thing. And then he would also, he's been to a lot of shows, so he knows the songs. He knew Phil, which is important. And he's played with us a couple times a few years ago. So he will be the fill-in for Mile Music and Oktoberfest as well. So I don't know if we're gonna find a permanent second guitarist or if we're just gonna do fill-ins forever. But we're sort of working through that.
Yeah, so I almost feel like live we like having the two guitars.
Yeah,
it just sounds, and I think that we're used to that now, and especially after the Pachyderm sessions and songs that really sound empty. There's stuff on Open Cuts, a lot of stuff on Open Cuts that sounds weird without the second guitar.
Well, Phil was more involved in songwriting for that album. So I mean, that makes a lot of sense because realistically playing live older songs, Phil started out just kind of mimicking your guitar parts or hitting the kill switch on his guitar and pretending he was playing. Genius.
Well, and I think that's why it took me a little bit to get used to him, because when he started playing with us, he just played exactly what I was playing. Right. But then he started like writing his own stuff, and and then there's songs that we can't play without a second guitarist. Like Rage is a song I really like. We can't play it without it. We could, but it would sound really bad.
Right.
There's songs that are like borderline. You probably could get away with them, like To the Top, but it's like it just sounds better with the two guitars.
And Phil was the master of adding simple parts that really added a lot to the song.
He always said he added the candy on top of the stuff. So we've got like five new songs.
I thought you were just going to say we've got 5 minutes left.
No.
I was thinking, what?
We've got
hours left.
We've got like 5 new songs we've been working on, and I would say they're probably similar to the stuff we've recorded, but a little different.
You just answered your question that you asked me before.
Yeah,
What's your favorite one?
Of the new ones?
Yeah.
I don't really have a favorite. I'm trying to think of which one.
That's one of yours.
Well, the one I like is the one that we aren't really actively practicing right now, because like I have a nice solo for it and stuff. But yeah, so it's kind of like dipping your toes into the water. We're slowly bringing them out in practice, and
we can't dump them all on Sam, the drummer, all at once. So we've slowly been acclimating him little by little.
Yeah, and the guitar thing, it would be nice to have a guitar player that was closer in Appleton eventually. But
you know what? We'll see if we drop the ball with these upcoming shows. Maybe we do suck. We'll find out. And if we do, well, then we have to reevaluate. Is this really how we want to spend our time in our late 20s?
Well, you said about shows, like I think just we used to worry a lot about fitting in. Now I just want to just play decent and have fun.
Right. Well, it's funny you look at all the genres too. When I think to myself, so at the beginning, not even at the beginning, but I remember at one point we weren't. I had this feeling that we weren't punk enough, and that was always a big issue because it seems like a lot of the bands that we were friends with and that were playing a lot were punk bands, and then we would come along and we just didn't fit in, and then it was hard to get on shows. Like at the beginning, it was always one of those things where if you wanted to play, we'd had a lot of mixed genre shows, and all of a sudden it became more cliquey with bands that were all the same genre. And then I remember also the Wild Bird era in Appleton occurred, and it was almost like this Black Crowes-y sort of thing going on, and we didn't fit that at all. And I remember trying to figure out like where we fit in with that, and then of course the whole Americana thing, which was probably my most hated period of Appleton music history, which I will say it is funny how everybody started wearing fedoras and with the beards and everything, and that sort of that lasted for a while, but the fedoras all started disappearing, and there's something about Americana. And it's not even the music, it's just how so many people got swept up in that.
So Frank Anderson really wants to sometime have a conversation with you on here about Americana.
So not really a conversation, it would be more him and I just complaining.
Yeah.
Frank and I have a shared love of anger. So it's always fun talking to Frank.
Well, of course, Frank said that Appleton is in danger of not rocking.
It's true. Appleton's been in danger of not rocking for a long time. And, I think it's actually a good thing that Frank, of all people, we'll call him the elder statesman of the music scene. And I think that most local musicians, especially the ones who've been doing it for a long time, can respect Frank even more because you talk about people who've been doing it for a long time. And, I think when you're younger, it seems like everybody and their brother, no offense, is in a band.
None taken.
Okay. But then as you get a little older, the ones who are never really into it, they slowly start dropping off. And then you've got this handful of people who it's part of their identity and they just can't stop doing it because it's who they are. And maybe it's deep inside of them. Maybe it's just something they built their life around and they're too invested in it. I don't know. But anyway, so as you get older and realize you are one of those people, you respect the others who are still doing it. So Frank definitely has earned his badge. I wish I could get in a time machine, go back and ridicule the people who said they were so into music and who aren't anymore. Like old me would just hop out of the time machine, back in the 90s and just start like ripping on people. I don't know, it'd be fun. Someday AI will invent time machines, and then I do have a time machine list. That's one of the things I'm going to do.
That's what you'd waste a time machine on.
Yeah. There's also a lot of petty arguments that I have to go back in time and say to people like, ha, and I'll just hop back in. I'll have to move fast though, because everyone will have time machines. So everybody will be changing everything. So like nothing will be, historically accurate really quickly. But anyway, so back to Frank Anderson. So national treasure, that guy. If you don't know who he is, look him up and give him respect when you see him, because he deserves it.
Frank is working on a album. He will be working on it, which sounds fascinating. It's going to be it's going to be all Frank. So I think that,
Like playing different instruments.
I'm not really sure, but I think
You interviewed him about this? Or you just talked
no, we
about
had we had coffee at my house, so it was interesting. I want to find out more about that. Yesterday we had Ian Gilmore on, which is a guy that's still involved in music from when we started, and then you've got Eric Krieger in Leading the Blind. Of course, Marty was doing it too, like even probably before we were, and he's doing Leading the Blind.
Those are all people that, they all put in their time. Which, do the younger people really, really care, understand that?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Did you care when you were like 20?
I think I had the mindset of, give it up, old man. Which is probably what people think of when they see us. I think that's another, just a thing about getting older is, I don't know, everybody thinks they're younger than they are. But I remember seeing older bands when I was younger and just thinking, give it up. Like, seriously, why are you still going? Nobody cares. Like, and now I'm one of those, but I don't know. So how do you feel about playing more again? I mean, we haven't done it yet, but
I'm excited just to play shows again. I did, of course, shows with This Handsome Stranger. They haven't played in a while. I just like playing shows.
what was your favorite show you've ever played?
With This Handsome Stranger?
No.
Oh, all time?
Yeah.
I know it's Puddle and Mud, but playing with Puddle and Mud, the Alloy Plot.
Are they still together? I was thinking about them the other day.
I don't think so. But that was fun. That's probably yours too, or one of them.
One of them, just as a bigger.
And actually, the first Smile Music at Chadwick's was fun too.
Mm-hmm.
That would probably be up there.
Okay. And with talk about joining other bands, so you joined This Handsome Stranger, playing bass.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get a bigger respect for the bass, Mon?
Not really.
So did that give you a better view of, say, Phil or other people joining bands?
Yeah, I mean,
how
it's
difficult
not,
it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I would think so. I mean, they didn't, like, their whole thing was Ian would always say, play what you want, but there were times where he would be like, you're not playing this right, and then I'd play exactly what he was showing me, in my opinion, and he'd be like, no, it's like this, and then he would play what I just played. I'd be like this? No. So it's like, I get it. I was probably like that, to Phil in the past, but yeah, I mean, it was a lot of work. This Handsome Stranger practiced for like 2 hours a week for like 2 years. Then we recorded an album and a half and then kind of stopped playing. So, it happens. Pudge, we started playing in Appleton at Fun Lovin', which is now Angels Forever, which it looks like they're going out of, or they're retiring.
You could buy it.
Yeah, I think I'm good. But I would hope that maybe somebody would buy it. Like talking about Ian always talks about how good those times were. It would be cool if, and I don't know if it's just the lease on the building or the building itself, but I remember when we would play shows there, you would sit out, there was a bench out in front, and we would sit out there and complain about everybody going into Park Central and how they should be watching live music. 17, 18-year-olds complaining about 21, 22-year-olds going into Park Central instead of going into Fun Lovin' to watch. But those were good times.
Just another, it's just another part of, do we call it entitlement, or is it were we Psalms?
I think probably.
Which, for those of you who don't know at home, it's a term Andy created. It stands for self-absorbed local musician, which most local musicians are Psalms. You can tell just by listening to them. I'm a Psalm. Because how do you identify one? They speak like they have some special skills and that's some special knowledge, and it's like an entitlement thing. So, I mean, it's most local musicians have it. A lot of psalms out there. It's usually the ones who say they're not one that they are. So, not to say we don't love our psalms, because you can be a psalm and still be lovable. But like self-identifying or coming to grips with the fact that you are one is usually step one in the process.
Do you have any bands in the area that you're a fan of? Any current local bands?
Well, I mean, it's hard for, I don't know which ones are still playing. I like Sons of Kong, obviously have a special place in my heart.
So you're liking a bands, you're going to go back, you're thinking back to bands that we played with or that you know, because do you actively go see new shows?
Not really. And and realistically, I don't know. I think once you have kids and everything, it's just harder to get away. It was hard for me to get here. I realized I came here at 5 a.m, but it was hard to break away and come here because you do have commitments. I mean, going back to playing in a band when you're older too, I mean, that's difficult for the reasons you would expect, and not only kids, but then you got the spouse. You're always gone. I mean, look at you. You're here all the time. Like that, at some point you pay the piper, and it's just hard to do. So then trying to do that for your own band stuff and then going out to see other bands, that's like triple the trouble that you'd be in otherwise. Which is what makes, again, Mile Music so nice, is because if you're playing it, you're already there and you can check out other bands. So just another nice thing about that festival.
Well, what I like doing is seeing the bands from the area at Mile Music, and some people are the exact opposite. They want to see everybody from out of town because they say, well, I can see these bands from around here anytime. But I like the fact that I can see a lot of local bands.
Right.
And local isn't, when I say local bands, that's not a cut. That just means like I can see bands that are from this area. And
You're talking about a geographical location.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I can just go down College Avenue and see a bunch of them and just pop in and out, get a little taste of, each one.
Although then you have to play that dance or that game, do the little dance of how do I get out of here without them noticing.
Oh, well, at Mile, you don't really have to worry about that because half the time it's packed anyway. So
Right.
But you've got to do that thing where you walk in, you take a picture as proof, and then
Or you say, hey.
that's the new way, and then you put it on Facebook. Or you see them before, like, oh, hey, I can't wait, and then you slip out. Like there's lots of different trickeries that bands do to other bands to make it seem like they were there.
We've done it and seen it.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I'd rather see local bands, I think, at Mile than just because I feel like, not to, the out of town bands are good, obviously, if they're getting selected to come here and play, but I don't think there's anything really special as far as like that makes them so much better than the local bands that are here.
So Michael Grabner was here yesterday, and he was talking about distractions while playing, and he said he notices it really bothers him when he sees people leave when he's playing at Mile, even though he knows that people are going from show to show. He says he's got to work on that, but he takes it really personal.
I do too.
Personally, when he sees somebody leave.
Don't you?
Yeah, I do, but I thought it was interesting to hear him say that because I thought about it, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, you and I are both like that. Like, you watch who's leaving, and then afterwards it'll be like, hey, did you see so-and-so left?
Right. Well, because it's kind of insulting because then it's the realization that, and even if people go from venue to venue, but still, if you it's proof that, okay, well, obviously I wasn't entertaining them enough, because if you see a band that really blows you away, you're not going to be like, oh, shoot, I have to go see this other band. You're going to stay there and watch the whole thing. So I agree with him. Totally, 100%.
Well, he said, too, that he'll think like, oh, is it, did I play the wrong song? Should I have played something better? And yeah, I mean, that's really hard to get over, and it kind of can get into your head and affect.
Yeah, I've had that happen where we've changed set lists and not played that song next time because people left during it or whatever. Or why did they select this song? And oftentimes people probably think to themselves, after this song, I'm going to leave.
Right.
But in your mind, you're thinking, wow, they really didn't like this song. And then you're sitting there playing, thinking to yourself, what are we doing wrong? I know you always think we're out of tune. It's like, are we too loud? Does this song suck?
That's a hearing issue.
Which goes back to the age. and poor decisions you made when you're younger. So back to Appleton not rocking enough. We never really finished that. That's been a problem for a long time.
Appleton does like the bands from out of town that rock that come here, though.
I
Very
know.
mild music.
You know, and Appleton's starting to rock more, but that actually gets my blood boiling too, because these are all fedora wearing Americana converts that suddenly are becoming rockers again. Is it because that's who they always were, or is it because they think that's where trends are going again? Either way, it's bad. Big signs of a psalm right there. I mean, I don't know. But I do, personally, I'd rather see a band rock than not rock, personally. Because a band should be entertaining. It's not just I don't know. I want to be visually entertained as well, which I realize it's not, required with live music, but it's nice to see some energy and movement and just a little emotion, like raw emotion. And music needs a little bit of danger. And maybe that's what Frank's referring to when he says that rock is dying in Appleton or is dead.
I think he actually did say that. He clarified that rocking, he doesn't exactly mean the music, but he means like the attitude.
Yeah.
When you get up there.
There should be danger. Everybody likes a little danger in their music. And that's why I know a lot of talented artists in the area that are really good, like really good singers, really good players, but they lack danger. And then, oftentimes you see somebody really good and you're just thinking to yourself, wow, I'm surprised more people aren't coming to this. But oftentimes it's because there's not enough danger. People want to be slightly worried about what's going to happen.
Well, to a point, probably.
Well, yeah, to a point. Well, I mean, if you're not in the band, what do you care if things go super crazy? I mean, we've been involved in a lot of situations where things were ugly and it really bothered us, but other people thought it was funny, which pissed us off even more. But again, people want to be entertained. So maybe there's just not enough danger in Appleton, but I blame that on Americana and emo. Let's not forget emo, which set the stage for Americana.
Yeah, emo's the style of music that I like the least, probably.
I think it kind of disappeared, never really came back.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's another, you look at trends, how bands sort of bend and change, and I'm sure there are some emo bands from the early 2000s still playing. Can you think of one? I mean, there has to be. I can't think of any.
I always thought, and I like Sunday Flood, but I always thought they went through it. Early Sunday Flood was kind of emo.
Yeah.
The way Eric sang some of the songs.
Yeah. That's a good point. Well, we're not going to categorize them as emo, though.
Yeah. I didn't.
You kind of flirted with it a little bit.
I danced around it to be dangerous.
Yeah. It's cool. I respect your opinion.
Thank you. So the first Pudge album, the first proper one, I guess would technically be the second album. We did vinyl. Any urgency or any will to do vinyl again, or do you think that was kind of a one and done?
Probably one and done. I feel like vinyl's kind of come and gone again. It's everybody now. That's the thing is, gotta have vinyl, and it's been that way for a while. And I just personally, I've had, that we grew up with vinyl like a lot of people did, and we never stopped buying it. So, and we always had.
Well, we stopped in the mid 90s when all the vinyl was
right, when you couldn't buy it. Yeah. But we always had it. We were always listening to it. We always had record players. And so in 2013, when we had Closer to You, that album done, it was still kind of a rare thing to have vinyl, which is another reason why us being Psalms, we felt sort of like we weren't given credit. So we had all this vinyl and nobody cared. And we sold it for $10 each, which is pretty cheap. It burns me, and I don't know how much it costs right now to do vinyl. Obviously, the quantity and all that impacts it, but bands selling vinyl for $30 each, $25 I feel is kind of high too, but I guess depending on how much you put into it.
How much, in your opinion, is too much to pay for a
25.
local band vinyl? $25 is your top?
Yeah. I feel like 20 to me is the top. 25 is getting to the point where I feel like I'm probably not going to buy it. 30, I'm just going to think to myself and not do it at all. And I guess part of it, you're making a donation. And if you really like the artist, it's a way to, I guess, support them and also get something. But I don't know. I just feel vinyl doesn't excite me like it used to, and it's everybody into it now, and it's all over the place. I don't feel that vinyl looks good long term. And I feel like it is a pain to listen to. I don't really believe the whole sounds better argument. But again, that's just me. And maybe it's just the different point in my life where I'm with listening to music. But I mean, I still have, I don't know, probably 500 to 1,000 records. I just don't listen to them. When I think to myself, I'm going to listen to this, and I pop it on. I think I tried listening to a Ramones album the other day. I can't remember which one it was. Put it on. By song 2, I was already not wanting to listen to it anymore. I turned the stereo off and I let the record keep going. I could hear it, still spinning, playing, but I just didn't care. I tried that with Suicide Machines recently too. And maybe it's because I have my record player in my basement. I don't know. But
that does make a difference,
yeah.
I think.
I've been getting, ironically, back into CDs. I feel like CDs are better. I don't know. I like the fact that they're easier to carry around. You still have the full album on it. You still have the artwork. For a while, it was awesome with the LPs where the artwork was bigger again. But now I'm to the point where smaller is better. I see it and I'm like, oh, it's so tiny. Look at it. And it's still there. I like that. The problem now is you can't find CD players anywhere. So I started getting back into CDs because I had to start driving my wife's car, which had a CD player in it. I thought it was the best thing ever. I thought, well, I don't like this car, but it has a CD player. And I started buying CDs at Goodwill. And I'd listen to them. It was so exciting. People talk about like sitting down with vinyls. Well, I have a 35-minute commute to and from work, so it was kind of the same thing. But now, I have this Clash CD or whatever. I've always liked the Clash, but I'm not like into the Clash. So I thought, wow, now I can actually sit here and really digest these songs. And then after a month, the CD player stopped working. Now it doesn't work. And now the radio doesn't work in the car either. So I've actually been listening to a lot of Code Zero radio on the way to and from work on the TuneIn app.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it's actually a lot more convenient than one would think.
I would suggest you get the Get Me Radio app because they don't insert commercials like TuneIn does.
Get Me Radio?
Yeah. Yep. I would suggest that. But so you and I have gone to 2 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductions. Obviously, the one we went to first was better than the one we went to last year. I was going to drive, and then I went to pick you up in my car. The muffler broke or something. And so you drove. It was a stick shift, which I can't drive.
So you don't have to admit that. You can drive, just not well. Admit it.
So you drove the whole time, but the ceremony itself was kind of a letdown compared to the one prior. I blamed it on the seats, but what was your opinion?
Well, again, I knew it was going to be. Well, I don't know why I said again. I didn't say this yet. Is that like a tick? Some people say or like. I say again.
I think so, and it's 5:48 in the morning.
Yeah. Well, so with that second one, I really didn't want to go. And you know that.
Yep, I was going to go by myself.
I thought the class or whatever you want to call it, the people getting inducted, I didn't think it was that good. I mean, yeah, you had
like
Cher.
Mary J. Blige?
No. And Cher, yeah, okay, yeah. Would I like to see Cher saying, yeah, sure. I don't think it's worth driving to Cleveland for.
Hey, no, I saw Cher sing.
And Dave Matthews, I don't really care about him. I mean, I've seen him before. He's kind of boring. There's no danger in Dave Matthews. I don't remember who else was there. Ozzy Osbourne. You knew he wasn't really going to sing, and you're thinking to yourself, it's probably the last time I'll get a chance to see him. And I know you used to be a big Ozzy fan.
I still don't mind him.
He's okay.
But it was cool. I mean, I guess I was complaining, talking to Bob Minter yesterday about that and how I thought they chose some really bad people to sing the Ozzy songs. Like it's kind of, they try to, like the Jelly Roll. Like just, I don't know. The picks were kind of weird.
What was your favorite performance from that second one?
Probably the Cher one, I'd say. Turn Back Time. I mean, if I had to hear one Cher song live, it would probably be that one. So I was happy. And I got to see some people I wanted to see, like Robert Daltrey.
Roger Daltrey.
Roger Daltrey.
I hate The Who. The Who's got to be one of the worst bands of all time. I can't stand them. I don't know why. I hate the music. I hate how they look. I hate how they act. I hate like what they say. I hate that bands like Pearl Jam love them and kind of model themselves after them, because I think that's what
There's a lot of people that hate Pearl Jam, like much in the same way, like they can't stand anything about Pearl Jam.
That's because they hate Pearl Jam because they're The Who mixed with Neil Young, which are two bad ingredients. Like if you take, I don't know, if you take salt and you take baby oil and you mix it in, like a lot of it, and with cookie dough, the cookies are going to taste bad. And that's kind of what The Who and Neil Young do to bands that really like them. And I think that was Pearl Jam's downfall. And I also, like, I don't know, the Who, Neil Young. How do people like Neil Young? I don't understand it.
So
but that's probably just me being an a-hole. Like, because people do like him. I don't. I hate him. I can't stand, like, my dislike of them is, so do you like Neil Young?
It's like a couple songs I like. I wouldn't put on a whole Neil Young album. I can only take a couple songs at a time.
You probably like the songs that he played with Pearl Jam, the Mirrorball stuff.
Yeah, I mean, but I like his like protest songs, the Ohio, whatever, stuff like that.
But you obviously like The Who.
Well, I mean, I respect The Who. They were a band that I knew wouldn't be. Would I go to a full Who concert? No. Probably not.
Well, I disagree, because you just said one of the things pushing you to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland was to see Roger Daltrey.
Well, I wanted to see a rock legend before it. The same thing with Sammy Hagar. Sammy Hagar was there. Would I want to sit through a Sammy Hagar concert? Heck no.
Yeah, that sounds really bad.
But it was cool that now I can say I saw Sammy Hagar. Same thing with James Taylor. I think the thing I like about the Rock Hall induction is you get to see a lot of people and you don't have to sit through a whole concert.
So what was your favorite performance ever that you saw at the
Rock Hall?
Yeah. I know what you're going to say.
Well, yeah, probably Foo Fighters.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, that was cool. Seeing and watching them play Get Back with Paul McCartney wasn't that good, but it was still cool to see. Why? What did you think I was going to say?
Well, I knew that was going to be in your top. By the way, I thought.
No. I mean, the Go-Go's was cool.
Oh, see, I thought you would have said mine was LL Cool J with Eminem. I don't know why. That's
I forgot about that. Yeah, that was good. Actually, that one was good. Yeah, and when would we go to see J-Lo? You know, J-Lo was there, Christina Aguilera, but that one, and Taylor Swift. I saw all those people at the first one we went to, and we would have never went to see those people.
But then in the end, does it matter that we saw them?
Not really.
What does it mean? What does it matter? It doesn't mean anything. I barely remember it. You probably don't either. Does anybody really care?
Probably not.
Which gets us back to the whole dilemma with local music. Does anybody really care? Probably not.
It's a tough one. So we talked a lot today and yesterday too about like Fox Cities Live, how Eric Herm and Todd are out there, you know, taking pictures and recording all these shows. But I think it's important because they're capturing history. And you and I talk about it. A lot of the stuff when we were hauling camcorders around in the 90s, a lot of people complained about it. It's like, don't tape me. And then all of a sudden they want that stuff. They want the pictures. Like,
you've been the victim of many people complaining about stuff. Then they come back years later and they want it. And then they don't credit you on it when they throw it out on the internet and brag about it.
Well, I feel like that's important. And that's like one of the things that it seems like there's more people now doing in the area, which is good. It's a good problem to have. The music scene here is good. What Pudge song do you like playing live the most?
I don't know. It kind of changes. I don't know, probably used to be Turn and Walk Away. It kind of depends. You get burned out on songs, as you know. I like one of the new ones. It's getting harder to sing, so now I'm actually preferring the songs you sing. I don't know. Usually like the faster ones.
You have historically played these Hofner hollow body basses, and you've been trying to figure out a different bass to play. What's your reasoning for stepping away from the Hofner basses?
Well, I like the flat strings and just the short scale necks on the Hofners are easier to play. But I don't feel like they're a little thuddy for rock bands. So I feel like they've sort of, I don't know, they're not bright enough. So that's why I'm trying to use this Handsome Stranger bass. We'll see how it goes.
Do you feel the Handsome Stranger magic when you play that? You said it's a little heavier than what you're used to.
It's a lot heavier. It's like 4 times as heavy.
So you're getting stronger each time you practice on it.
Probably not. I'm just hurting my back even more.
Do you plan on using that for live shows?
We'll see. I do at the beginning, and we'll see what happens from there.
Probably a good spot we can end the interview here, unless there's anything you wanted to talk about.
Can we just talk till 1?
I mean, we could. What is, in your opinion, the greatest record of all time?
That's a tough one, but not really too tough. It's got to be Nirvana, Nevermind. Any Beatles record, of course. Or Appetite for Destruction by Guns N' Roses.
Those are all good ones. And when you're talking about Pearl Jam, I remembered that you were a member of the 10 Club, and then you let your membership expire. Do you regret that?
Not really.
You get like a single, Christmas
7-inch
single or something.
Yeah, I sold all those too. Not really, just because it's, I don't know. The 10 Club is weird with tickets and how they do it, and realistically, it got to the point where Pearl Jam tickets were over $100 each, and it didn't really matter if you were sitting up close or not. You just wait and buy them from a scalper for a lot less and feel better about it. What do you think is the best album of all time?
Probably similar to the ones you said. I mean, I don't know. You know, I'm a big fan of Garbage, but I don't know if I'd put those in the top 3 albums of all time. Nevermind's a good one. Of course, yeah, Beatles, Elvis. I don't know. It kind of depends on the mood, too. So you were in the Pearl Jam fan club. I was in the Garbage fan club, which lasted, I think, a year until they got rid of it. And we got through, when they ended the fan club, you got free tickets and a backstage pass for one show. I chose the Green Bay Widener Center show, took you. And then I made the mistake of asking a usher if, I'm like, it's okay if you take cameras in, right? It was an unsolicited question. And then she's like, no, you can't bring cameras in. So I took it out to the car. And then we were led backstage with a group of people, and most of them had cameras and were getting pictures. It was upsetting to me at the time.
No pictures for you.
No pictures for me.
Well, that's another problem, is asking.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we probably could have seen Trent Reznor in Milwaukee if we would have asked if we could stay back there because it was cold outside.
Yeah, so I was talking earlier, too, about how I think Mark Weinberg was asking how, like, we've always been interested in radio, and I was telling him how we used to call in a rock line and hit line and how you get free CDs. I said, we didn't even know half the time who was on there. We would just call in early and explained the depression when I said we would normally start like 9 o'clock or 9:30 writing questions in a notebook, and then 9:50 start dialing. Sometimes they'd answer that early, sometimes not, for the show that started at 10:30. And then you just hope that you had a good enough question, but it would be depressing when 11:58 rolled around and they were ending the show, and then
you just get disconnected.
Sometimes, and other times they'd come on, like you had that hope in your mind that they'd be like, oh, there's only 3 people on hold, or however many. Let's let them talk to the artist. But they'd be like, sorry, we didn't get to your question. Thanks for calling. They'd hang up, and then you just, like, sometimes you would be on hold for like an hour and a half or longer.
Yeah.
But you talked to people you didn't even like at the time or didn't know, like Robbie Robertson.
Yep.
I mentioned you talked to some members of Black Sabbath, and then you get free stuff. And I talked to Natalie Merchant when she was on 10,000 Maniacs and wasn't a fan at the time. And then I got the CD, the 10,000 Maniacs Unplugged, for getting on, and then started liking her. And then she went solo and put out Tiger Lily. But you got like a bunch of Doors stuff for talking to you.
I don't remember it
was Robbie Robertson, I think.
No, I got a signed CD from Robbie Robertson of talking. I don't remember who the Doors was, but yeah, it was weird because I got a bunch of books, a bunch of VHS tapes and CDs. I didn't really know anything about the Doors, but now they're in my top favorite bands.
Well, so how movies can make you like somebody 91 or 92 or whatever that was. The Doors movie, the Oliver Stone Doors movie came out. And then, of course, at the time, I mean, you probably thought Val Kilmer looked pretty cool. And now you watch it, you're like, he doesn't really look like him. The movie seems cheesy.
Yeah, the movie sucks.
But I think of that with any music movie that comes out, like even that Great Unknown, everybody was raving about it. 10 years from now, people are going to watch that and say...
The Bob Dylan movie?
Yeah.
I thought that movie was boring.
Yeah, I mean, it was okay. I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, the same thing with like the Elvis movie. We were big Elvis fans. People are going on about, it's almost like Elvis reincarnated. He did such a good job. I didn't think he looked... I mean, he had some mannerisms. I didn't think he looked like him. I thought it looked like somebody doing an impersonation. Obviously, if you're super fans of somebody, we went to the theater and watched it with our sister and mom, who were also Elvis fans, and we were kind of groaning about some of the storyline, the Priscilla storylines in there. Like, and I bought those tickets in advance, and I thought they were the recliners, and then we got there, and they weren't the recliners; they were just seats. And
I was disappointed with that movie.
Yeah, same.
What else was I going to say? That made me. You sort of knocked something loose in my mind here. So, in Brilliant, Elvis impersonator Logan Ramy. He's 20 years old. That guy's got the moves. He'll be out there November 22nd. Should go because you and I are big Elvis fans. I know you'll be there. It's kind of weird that people can build a career on imitating someone. It's strange. But
did you know there is a pushback? Your father-in-law says "coffee on?" ?
Well, it's on here.
You know, I saw Allison yesterday at the outlet store.
Did you?
Yeah, it was good to see him.
Nice. Yeah, I see him there once in a while too.
So the Elvis thing, do you know there's a pushback with some of the Elvis faithful that they're saying Elvis Presley Enterprises are relying too much on, I can't remember what they call them, EP something, Elvis Presley.
ETAs.
PTAs, yeah.
I got an argument with someone the other day. Well, not an argument, but they never heard ETA.
Estimated time of arrival?
Oh, yeah, that's what most people think of. But yeah, Elvis tribute artist. To do an ETA. ETA is a big deal. And just, Logan Ramy, he was inducted into the ETA Hall of Fame in 2022, I believe. So think about that. If he's 20, he was like 17 or 18 when he's inducted. This guy's going to be good. Come and see him November 22nd, Saturday.
So there is a shelf life on being a tribute artist.
Is there, though?
Well, there should be.
If Frank has been doing it for like decades and he's still going. I mean, granted, his whole show isn't just Elvis, but a lot of these ETA.
You're talking Frank from Green Bay?
Yeah.
Frankly.
Let me be Frank Productions.
Well, yeah, let me be Frank Productions.
I mean, the easy thing about Elvis is most of them do late period Elvis. Just throw a jumpsuit on, dye your hair black, you're good to go. It's not like, talk about easy. Later, Elvis talked his way through a lot of songs, so all you got to do is go up there and it's like career.
Yeah.
Why, you think there's a shelf life for that?
Well, I think if there's somebody that's like in their 60s
I think
doing Elvis, like, or let's say American English, who was out at the Nordic Center last year, like if you look like a 70-year-old Paul McCartney playing in the Beatles suit jackets, it doesn't have the same effect. I don't think it has the effect that it's supposed to have.
I agree, but I think Elvis is easier to do than the Beatles.
Yeah. Well, some people like corny Elvises too. So in that regard,
Yeah, it's funnier. So I agree. What else was I going to say here? I don't remember. Why? What are your favorite local bands, Andy? You've talked to a lot of bands.
A lot of them.
What's been your favorite interview?
The Reverend Norb ones have been pretty good. And as far as like favorite bands, I really like Redshift Headlights, Spy vs. Spy. Oshkosh has a really good scene. Green Bay has a really good scene. Lots of rocking going on in Oshkosh and Green Bay. Appleton's got rock too. I like the Wishbone Breakers. They're a band I really like. Their new album is really good. You can see it on the wall over there, signed.
Is that the actual album?
That's the actual album.
Nice.
Maddie Day, I mean, that album's on the wall. And also, like...
Were they too cheap to give you a CD?
CD. Okay, so...
I don't know. Why are you laughing at that?
The French-Irish Coalition, another band I like, they put out they're doing a cassette run. I don't know what your view on cassettes are. Frank loves cassettes. So if you and Frank are talking, Frank, and you probably saw it on Facebook, got behind cassettes, and we talked about it over coffee a couple weeks ago. He likes the sound of cassettes.
I would disagree there. Not a cassette fan. That's fine though. I would take vinyl over cassettes.
And you complain about vinyl.
Yes. Well, I guess I complain about everything.
Modern Haunting, another band I like. I mean, I could just go on and on. The Smart Shoppers. There's a lot of really good bands, and unless you're out there looking for them, then you get stuck in the rut. Like when I asked you what bands you liked, then you go back to bands that like we played with, because those are the ones that you paid attention to, because unless you're actively out going to shows and seeing bands, then you just kind of know the ones.
Yeah, well, it's difficult too, because especially with local music, the like of bands isn't just the music, is based on them as people too, because you're interacting with them and you know them. So I think sometimes that muddies your thought process of what bands are the good bands. Yeah, I don't know, Andy.
Well,
a lot of bands now, I mean, local and national, aren't doing the album thing, which is hard too, because you'll see like one single pop up and it's obvious that they spent a ton of time making a video for that one song, and then you don't hear anything again for a year or longer. So it's kind of hard to... And then also the bands that release the albums, you might listen to half of it, run out of time, or turn it off for whatever reason, and then you never go back to it.
Do you think Pudge is going to do a full album, or do you think we'll just eke out an EP just to put something out?
What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I would like to do a full album, but...
What's the full album to you? Because that's different too. Mason Jennings just had a new album come out last week, and it's 8 songs. It's probably like 20-some minutes long. Is that an album? Really?
The new Walt Hamburger album is 8 songs.
How many minutes?
I'm not sure.
Okay. So I mean, what makes an album? Is it 8 songs, 9 songs, 10 songs? What makes it an album?
I would say if you put it out, I would say anything like, in my opinion, anything over 7 songs is an album. If the songs aren't 2 minutes each.
I feel like they should be 2 minutes each. You just brought up another gripe of mine, are songs that are too long. That's what made the Foo Fighters suck, is their songs got progressively longer and longer. I used to listen, I don't remember which album it was Wasted Light, I think, which I really liked, but I'd run to it, and when you're running, the thing that would keep me going was hitting the next song. And I would oftentimes put myself up against albums where my goal would be to run the entire album, not stop until it's over. Well, Wasted Light, I battled with that thing for months. It's 'cause it's so damn long. And every song, you think it's over, and then you're kind of running, you're like, oh, good, next one's coming. That song wasn't bad. And it was like a false ending, and all of a sudden another chorus starts. It's like chorus, 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 chorus. This goes on and on and on. I don't think songs should be over 3.5 minutes long, and even that's kind of long.
I think most of the songs we write are like right around 3 minutes, 10 seconds, it seems like.
Which also shows that we're too stuck in whatever we're used to. Yeah, I noticed that too. 3 minutes something. I actually really like 2.5 minute songs. And you talk about Elvis. Of course, Elvis didn't write anything. And that's another thing ETAs have going for them is they have just as much musical input into the stuff they're singing as Elvis did, kind of. I mean, Elvis arranged stuff and whatever, but he didn't write anything. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'd say 8 songs would be an album, but a week album. But do you want anything really long? I don't want to sit down for an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then maybe look at duration. If you have 3 10-minute songs, is that an album? You could argue it is.
So do you feel the urge or the need to have all these different social medias for Pudge? Or do you really care?
I've gotten over that too.
I think it goes to what you're saying about caring, like when you're playing, like you feel like you have to fit in. I almost feel like social media is kind of to that same point. If people like you, they're going to go look. But even if they like you, is social media really going to matter?
No.
Like all people do anyways is click like on something without even looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like going to a show just to take the picture and leave so you can say you were there. I liked it. And then, when you see them next, say, hey, I saw that video you posted.
Right.
Even though you didn't watch it, you just know they posted a video and you liked it.
Yeah. But it's easy to get sucked in that trap, and that's how you validate what you're doing.
Yeah.
So you want to do a full album is what you're saying.
Yeah, I feel like I would. But
how many songs then? 7?
8 songs.
8?
But again, there's a lot of people that are just putting out singles, which, we could do that too, just put out singles and then just put them all out as an album at the end. But then again, you're kind of playing the game of, social media dripping.
Right.
Which, because you're trying to do what everybody's doing to keep on the radar, but doesn't really matter. Is it really going to make more people listen to you? Probably not.
Probably not. Yeah, so not getting hung up on that stuff, I think, is probably a healthy, but again, easy to fall in the trap because everybody wants to feel validated for what they're doing. But
yeah, well, Tony, I want to thank you for joining us. I mean, we talked for over an hour and I actually didn't have the first couple of minutes going out because I forgot to hit the button. So
that's when all the juicy stuff was said.